AI is moving quickly inside organizations, but speed without intention can create as much risk as opportunity. In this discussion with Larry Weber, director of Pega and author of AI by Design, Not by Default, What Boards Must Know, in the latest edition of Directors and Boards, we examine how boards can tell whether AI is being adopted strategically, how to embed its oversight into enterprise risk frameworks, and what meaningful guardrails look like in practice. We'll also explore how directors can ensure that, even as AI shapes critical decisions, accountability and human judgment remain firmly in place.
So, Larry, your article for directors and boards argues that companies should adopt AI by design, not by default. From a board perspective, what signals tell you that AI adoption is happening intentionally as part of strategy rather than emerging piecemeal across the organization?
Yeah, good question. The first thing I would tell boards, like I've told mine, is let's make sure we're all on the same page of what AI we are using at the company and what strategy have we employed for those types of AI. As you know, AI is sort of like a layer cake. It's sort of at the base foundation. It's the chat GBTs. It's what I call sort of extension of search.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then it goes all the way up to agentic integration, which is where you have the bots that are going out and actually representing the company to a variety of different audiences and coming back and reporting back. So, and all in between. So you have to at least really understand what flavors of AI are being embedded in the strategy of the company. Then you have to really start to look at all the touch points that AI is affecting. And I start with, I think customers are the most important. And often boards forget that they have to stay close to customers too.
Yeah.
And AI is really good at enhancing experiences. So especially digital experiences. So being able to use, an integrated agentic combination of AI, maybe based on Claude, seems to be the hot, large language model right now from Anthropic. But it really helps you create experiences that are help in a sales process, help in a service process. And so you'll start to see as a board a more happy connection to your customers and potential customers. I also think you should start seeing advances in product development that you might not have seen, because what AI, as part of an innovation strategy, can go out and really explore what you might be missing in some of the product development that is occurring in the company. So I think you have to keep an eye on how the products have evolved and how they've reacted to strategic direction with the use of AI. I think more effective sales process is a third point. I
Mm-hmm.
think, really seeing that your sales is faster, it's more informed. I think that that's important to ask your head of sales, your CEO, anybody involved in the sales process. Are we, I often say, even before we started implementing AI, business today really comes down to quality and speed.
Yeah.
So, and really, the AI tools are all about speed. We have to manage the quality and make sure we have the right data sources. But that shouldn't be a board. They should just be aware of that and make sure that the executives at the company are dealing with that. I think the exploration of innovation through the use of AI is another key telltale of using it properly, so that you don't have to invent everything at a company, right?
Yeah.
And the board should be like that. They should be like, well, what innovations out there that we can plug in? What are we missing? And so, in a way, that's advanced search too. Boards should notice if that's being used and where that's going. Also, this might be a controversial thing to say, but the last thing I would say is hiring should slow down if you're using AI strategically, because it should be replacing some of the basic research, data analytics, things that were, done by maybe more junior employees, but that your more senior employees are using it to move faster and not having to just delegate, simple tasks to people, where you can delegate it to agents and that. And the last bit I would say to a board is you got to be all in. You can't be that old-fashioned board that just, once every quarter sits there and goes, is this happening? Is this happening? Make sure you stay on top of how AI is being integrated, especially in competitors, in other businesses that you might be following, and keep reading about it. I think the journal, along with your publication, have been very good at going deeper on the use of strategic AI applications. So those are a few things, Bill.
It's interesting. I love the analogy of the AI as layer cake. In my own work, I'm sort of at the bottom layer still right now, but who knows? We might be working our way up towards the top at some point.
Well, people like icing the best, right? So
That's right. That's the best part of any cake. But AI introduces risks around bias, transparency, data privacy, and regulatory exposure. How should boards integrate AI oversight into their existing enterprise risk frameworks rather than treating it as sort of a standalone technology issue?
yeah. First of all, I think it's going to be difficult for the way boards are set up right now with the different committees we have. Where do you put integrating technologies, especially advanced AI technologies, in governance? And it's an important question. Is it in the governance area? Probably. You probably should have a technology governance subcommittee. Might be an idea that you think about that includes maybe someone reporting that's a chief ethics officer or chief technology guardrail, somebody that's there that really understands the integration of technologies, not just AI, but all of them, and that they're being used properly. So I think it's a governance issue around that. Some people have mentioned that maybe it goes to cybersecurity, but I don't think it's that type of a threat. That's a whole different ball of issues, and has its own concerns as cybersecurity is more of a threat. This is actually how should this be used in a more ethical and powerful way? And I think that's where we might look at. I think Salesforce was one of the first companies to have a chief ethics officer. IBM put their top lawyer on the ethical use of software and AI applications, including quantum, and they're a leader in quantum. So you're starting to see a lot of movement toward this management of innovation, this management of technology, assuring that it's strategically used and properly used. You also can put rules in there. That's the other good thing. The good software coders at a company, or if you outsource it, should be able to put restrictions on the use of certain AIs, and that should be done as you go over them, much like you manage employees. You should be managing these agents or these bots, and other AI applications. So it becomes a management issue, just like you had a chief talent officer managing people.
Right. So your piece, which I should say it's a lead story in the Directors on Boards AI edition. We have some really great stuff in there, so thank you so much for that. But
Sure, enjoyed it.
the piece, it suggests that AI guardrails should not only constrain risk, but also enable disciplined innovation, right? As you talked about a little bit there. What does an effective set of board level guardrails look like in practice?
Well, I think what it looks like is you actually almost have dogmatic rules that have to be written down, And you can even ask and use the AI, what are the best guardrail practices that boards can have? And you'll get, a dozen that should be discussed openly at a board meeting, and you need to give it a responsibility. The CEO needs to be involved, but it's probably more a chief operations officer, somebody that is involved in applying technology to your product development, to your customer experience, to whatever you're using for it. Because every company, I believe, even if you make potato chips, is a technology company.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that it's at a board level that you have to set parameters, rules of engagement, of how you use this. You also can ask the actual companies. I think Anthropic's done a very good job at suggesting guardrails and principles for proper use of large language models. I think Microsoft has done a good job around Copilot and how to use that, in a more senior executive and board level operations. So I would suggest looking at those too. And I wouldn't leave it to an outside consultant. I would have maybe someone on the board in charge of really looking at this and bringing it to the governance committee or into the day-to-day management teams of what they're doing. So
We've talked about layer cake, and then you talked about potato chips. We're starting to get hungry. Probably a good thing that this is our last question here, right? So, as AI increasingly influences material decisions inside companies, how should boards ensure there's clear accountability and human judgment behind those outcomes?
first, I think all boards and senior officials need to understand this word, adjacency. Adjacency is going to be the most important responsibility of the human executives at a company. And the board needs to make sure that adjacency happens with the use of different layers of software. AI is software. So to understand that and to use it properly in that way, I think is going to be important. I think we also have to look that a board is consistently looking at how you manage, the integration of your different technologies. It's sort of a different role than a CTO. I might liken it to your house where you live, where the basement is usually all this important stuff that keeps the house running, but it's sort of boring. But, and you have to make sure that that's checked on and that it works and stuff. But now with AI and innovative technologies, we're moving into all the layers of the house as well. So you want to make sure that you're living fully and that the company's achieving its success to the best of its abilities. And you need humans to be adjacent to the technologies. One, just because it's on my mind right now, is a healthcare company called Da Vinci Systems that uses the word adjacency at their board level because they develop robotic surgery machines, but they aren't as effective if they aren't overseen by a regular surgeon. Now, that means the surgeon could be in Columbus, Ohio, doing a surgery in Nigeria, which is sort of cool if you think about it.
Yep.
But that's still adjacency. So no matter what kind of thing you're in, JP Morgan Chase, how you're managing mortgages, how how do you have people there that are responsible being next to those agents and bots as you integrate and use the agentic AI? So remember that we're still humans and we're the ones that are creative and thoughtful and decision making. AI is more of a noun than it is a verb, and people can bring the verb to it.